So welcome to developers meeting on 26th of March 2023. Ido, stage is yours.
Hi everyone. Hope you had a good week. Let's start with you, Mike.
I'm quite excited actually because I hit a bit of a milestone this week. I just kind of wanted to show you guys. So I got the first version of classification working, which I was quite chuffed about, using Nikolas' model. So that was quite a big step for me. So I'll share my screen and just kind of show you guys.
Let me just give you an update right now because I cannot stay for long. I have to leave.
Of course.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry, Mike.
No, that's okay. Sorry about it. And first of all, I couldn't do a lot this week. It was a very, very busy week for me. But anyway, what I'm doing right now is getting out the stuff that Mike worked on and make them also to run on the Orange Pi. So I'm rebuilding the containers and I'm making sure that everything will be run smoothly on the Pi or on the PC. That's what I'm doing exactly this moment. Okay, so I'm rebuilding containers and doing everything on the Orange Pi also, so we can work on the ARM devices.
Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you for doing that. Thank you.
And thank you, everyone. I'm sorry I have to watch the meeting later. I have to leave. I have to leave now. And go ahead, Mike. I really want to see the stuff you produce. So I'll catch you later.
Okay, man. Have a good one. Let me share my screen and then let me know when you guys can see the screen.
Yes. Yes, we can.
You can see. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to quickly run this so you can. So you can. Yeah, the little text with the plane thing. That's pretty much all it is, really. To be fair, but yeah, I got that working this week, so I'm really kind of chuffed with that actually. So we can. So I've not tried. I did. I can show. I can. It's not 100% in all fairness because if I switch over to the drone video, I think that's a plane as well, but but that's fine. I know that's just purely because it's not been trained on drones, but sorry, just give me 2 minutes. Let me just rebuild this and get it launched again.
No worries. We do not run away.
That's right. I actually never saw drone.
No, I know. I know. I just thought it was neat. That's all. So
yeah. But what's the confidence that it is a plane? I can see 70, 80.
Yeah. Sometimes it's quite high. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's still a bug in there where 2 frames can merge into, overlap. So I need to fix that. But
And 4 is, I guess, class empty.
I don't know.
Yeah, I have a folder for empty frame when there is nothing to it. So it's either empty sky or a really cloudy
or a cloaked UAP
image or that, yeah.
So you can kind of see. So it's doing the classification. I mean, this is running. I mean, I know it's running on my build PC, but it's running in real time, So it's doing the classification. I just think it's. Yeah, I was just chuffed to get it working.
Yeah. Do you enjoy your progress, Mike?
Yeah, no, I was really chuffed to get this working, man. This was kind of a big thing, and I think it also. I'm comfortable with renaming Simple Tracker to Sentinel now.
Oh,
In all fairness, because I
Nice.
feel it's got a bit more intelligence now than just tracking a blob. So it's I'm gonna as soon as there's still some stuff that we have to work through just to get so that I have to work with Fabio just so we can get this running on the Orange Pi 5. But as soon as we've done that and I've got this basically this branch merged in, then I think the next thing I'm going to do is I need to work with David also. But one of the things that's on my to-do list is just to rename this thing to Sentinel versus Simple Tracker, because it's a bit more now. But anyway, yeah.
Not
So
simple anymore.
no, exactly.
pretty cool.
It's a bit more clever. Cheers, man. Yeah. So anyway, that's sort of that's what I wanted to show you guys, really.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is the probability based on a single frame or on the same object over several frames?
Single frame.
Yeah, that's pretty good then, because that means in the end we will be able to, because it has the one thing to track that some object is the same object in between the frames, and another thing to identify it in a given frame, and then you could use both informations to actually get a better probability result by merging the probabilities of several frames, and then also intermediary frames that would otherwise not identified as a plane will still recognize it as a plane. Is that does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, I already have one implementation of sequence-based model, but I need to collect more data and to actually first compose the dataset that is decent enough to be trained on.
Yeah, I had a similar question around at what point do you change, based on the classification, at what point do you change the actual visual tracking model to control the camera? So if it's, obviously you wouldn't do it, frame by frame, but, at what point, okay, this is, you're holding this classification as a plane, so I'm going to operate the camera as though it is a plane. Project path so it's a frame. How do you what's the current thought about making those decisions?
Like feedback from classification.
Well, there
or
are
just our system based on what we are tracking. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, and really over time. And at what point do you let go of a classification and kind of trade it for at the beginning, over a number of frames looked to have been a plane, but now over a longer period of time, it's a drone. I should actually switch, path projection models.
Yeah, I didn't thought about this yet. But
hello.
Is your question is more around the slewing of the telescope, or like more on the classification?
Well, it's maybe a little bit of both, because from the classification,
yes, I'll try to explain. Right, the classification in the end of the day will give us priority. Right, what do we want to track, or what it's important to the telescope, because the telescope doesn't care if it's a drone or an airplane, right? And also what's important is to get the kind of the vector of movement, so the telescope can do prediction and like smooth slowing, right? Because you want to advance the telescope a bit farther ahead, so by the time it reaches the target, they match, right? So that's like 2-3 higher order than where we are right now.
But even when you're selecting the method of path projection, what model to use for path projection, you could get a more optimal model by using a classification, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, this is really advanced. Honestly, I played with these ideas like 15-20 years ago. I never got to actually do it. but my tracking was a bit simpler because mostly was like on the ocean itself. Here, it will be interesting to change kind of tracking model based on kind of classification, but because our challenge is UAPs, the vector and the movement, and then understanding that should be decoupled from the classification, right?
Yeah.
Because in theory, you can have a UAP that can behave as an airplane, then change to become like a drone, and then change to become like I don't know what, right?
And this is very valuable also for selecting potential UAPs by their weirdness in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
in also I'd say that this is an aspect that doesn't necessarily have to be done by AI, because there's this essentially a developed theory, tracking systems, essentially tracking theory. There's concepts like joint probabilistic data association, multi-object trackers, JPDA or MOOTs. There's also or JPDAs. There's also other models. Ultimately, it revolves around state space estimation concepts. You usually have some state space model that depends on the kind of object, and then you have probabilities of this matching, which both is used for prediction and also sort of a classification you can do with that, of course, by the trajectory. And this is both useful to see irregularities in something that may be in UOP, and also in improving track, essentially. Yeah.
There is another part that is the kinematics analysis, and I think Jannik wanted to contribute something.
The state space model in such systems is essentially where the kinematics is.
Yeah.
The model is placed.
Yeah, it's kind of a similar model, I guess. What we currently have is a model that is based on a time series. Sorry, I'm still eating.
Those are also time series models.
Okay, and it's based on the distances that the object travels between frames and the directional changes in the vector between
is
frames.
Is it a probabilistic model or?
It's a random forest model.
Okay.
And the code is called Sketch22. You can look it up. It's based on a paper that's open source, so you can easily read through that. And I trained it now on 4 different object types. So it's trained on planes, birds, rain droplets, and clouds. And it seems to work reasonably fine, actually. So, but the point is that we currently need about 25 images to have let's say, robust classification.
That's actually incredibly little.
Well, okay, thank you.
I mean,
it can make a classification based on 5 frames, but it's the performance goes down, of course, right? The less images you have, so the accuracy was about, I think, 76% for 5 frames, and it goes up to 89% for 25, 30 frames. And
and maybe we can at some point meet and discuss the whole tracking topic a bit. That would be interesting.
Yeah,
different approaches. Yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can also look it up in our GitHub repository. Mm-hmm. There's a kinematics repository. All the code is already in there, including a trained model. So you can check it out.
In what mathematical formulation is the kinematics? Is it essentially linear state space models like matrices that update vectors, or?
It's a random forest model.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
So it's basically a statistical machine learning model, right?
Yeah, but then in the end, inside something will happen roughly like what I described, just with the machine learning do the weighing of the matrix.
Well, it's basically it's analyzing a time series and features of the time series with 22 different. It's analyzing 22 different features of the time series. That's why it's called Catch-22. Yeah. And it's quite fast, so it's it was developed from a MATLAB toolbox actually. That's based on over 1,000 features, I think, different features of a time series. And they selected the most significant, let's say, 22 different features that a time series can have. And that's what it's based on, basically.
Yep, gotcha.
Yeah.
I will look into that, thanks.
Jannik, you said there's a paper for Catch-22. Can you upload this paper to Science folder on Drive?
It's in one of the channels too, I think.
It's in it?
Yeah.
In one of the Discord channels.
Thank you.
Okay, I can do that, but it's also in the GitHub repository, in the README.
Is it?
There's a link to the paper.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's the Canonical Time Series Characteristics paper?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Nice. Let's continue. Who wants to?
May I introduce another question? So when we have two probabilities, we have a visual probability and we have a kinematic probability. We should bring this both together and make it visual on the screen, so that both are running, that we can see that both are running. Because you need both parameters at the same time to make probability. Probability estimate.
Well, that's part of the fusion, right?
Yeah. My question is now, Mike, would you be able to integrate Jannik's work into your code so that we can see the kinematic probability as well? Would that be possible?
Yeah, I will do. I haven't done that yet, but it's on the to-do list. So
no worries, Mike. I know. Every time I ask him, he gets worried about new work.
No.
Mike is always worried regardless of what we ask him.
Yes. Yeah, I worry for everyone. So that's sort of what I do.
It's part of his traits. Like I remember in the beginning, all the worries about ROS 2, and look at now. He's still worried, but everything is on ROS 2.
Yeah, that's just how I'm built, mate. It's just you can my. Yeah, I just unfortunately I just worry about all that stuff.
I told you that I told you over time you will see the progress, and eventually you will stop being worried. So I'll point it out to you slowly over time, so you see your success, and you see like based on history, right?
I'll just find something else to worry about. So yeah, it won't be ROS 2. It'll be something else, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, I'm gonna rest easier knowing you have the worrying function covered.
Oh man, I got it more than covered. Don't worry. I'm on that sucker. Yeah.
But I think we have now the situation that there are 16 or 17 Orange Pi in our group. So I think we all with the Orange Pi at the moment. Wayne, did you receive yours yet? Yes. Okay. Great. That we all follow Fabio's recipe. Maybe this recipe will now be changed with new updates from Mike. But I think it would be nice if we can all put this on our boards and test it, especially with live cameras, live feed.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I have Fabio's on my Pi and it does run. So.
Perfect.
Yep, I have it working. I got to go change out an X-ray machine, but I'll be back in 15-20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. Got to do a little work, make a little money,
I just wanted to say, Ido, that I think it's time that we all having all those pies that we go for the recipe of Fabio and test it all through, Because I know some people do not have that camera, but have an RTSP camera. It would be just nice to see the software reacting on different hardware.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So maybe I'll speak about that. So I found out this week that I can actually run the Orange Pi 5 kernel, and someone from the Nix community kind of pointed it to his own repository that works. So I'm not sure, honestly, when I will have time to actually look at that. But I have this. So I assembled it, and I can't wait to put it outside. It's still raining on and off, so I'll wait.
You got the dome.
Yes. The only issue I have is that this is still, I don't know if you can hear, still a bit jiggly.
Why?
Yeah, it moves about, I don't know, 1.5 millimeters.
On the adapter, it moves on the adapter.
Yes, it moves on the adapter about 1.5 millimeters.
Then you should twist the 3 knurled screws so that there's a tighter fit.
I tightened them with, I tightened them as hard as I can.
You did already, as hard as you can?
Yeah.
And still you have this wiggle in?
Yeah.
Huh? Okay, you have to show me at another time. I have to see what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might try something like a shim.
It could be, yeah. I actually thought about it. There was an issue in the beginning with aligning the lens. It was a bit diagonally, but then I pushed it hard, and then it kind of stabilized. So that was good. But yeah, it's just a bit jiggly. It's not too bad, but should be more rigid.
Did you mount your adapter from underneath in your tower?
Yes.
Why?
Yes. Why?
Yeah.
Because if so, it has to go underneath.
Why?
Because if I put it on top, there will be a gap like that. So I had to put it underneath.
No, we all have the same equipment. It's not special for you. You don't have a special problem. So the adapter.
If you look at the picture that I sent on the channel,
yeah.
Okay, when the adapter was on the top, I had about like this height difference.
Yes, a little bit higher it will become because the adapter is 5 millimeter thick. Yes, so.
Yeah, so I just moved it underneath.
Yeah, but then you will have a problem when you mount this on your enclosure and glue it and fix it because you don't want to have it washed away with rain and wind. Then you have an issue when getting out the camera. If you have to change the camera or maintain it or whatever.
Okay, so let's speak about it.
There's a reason. Okay. Yeah. There's a reason, and there went in a lot of thought to make it that way it is.
Yeah, no, I hear that.
So maintaining and maintaining is a big issue in all hardware we do.
Yeah.
So
no, but anyway, I cannot glue this until I'm, fixing all the focus on everything else on the camera.
Yes, of course, absolutely. So, but the idea is that you use the adapter. Hold on a second.
Yeah. That's what happened, I'm a software guy.
The idea is to mount the adapter on the tower, and then have sunken screws, because that's why there is a sunken screw opening on the bores, so that the sunken screw goes flat, and then you can mount the dome on it.
Sunken screws. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Sunken screws on the created list of hardware on the website.
Yeah, so it could be my screws are a bit too long or too thick. I don't know. I'll send you the photos again so you see the difference.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make this point because other people see this video, and if they see what you did, they can have the imagination that this is the right way to do. Sorry, I had to say.
Got it. Yeah.
This is Ido's way to do it, okay?
That's my way.
Okay.
Yeah. I have two left hands. Yeah, another thing I'm still working on is getting the 80 millimeter hole in my enclosure. So that will be next.
So that was a big bummer because it was part of the change request to have that 8 millimeter hole, and we did not get images when they did the first prototype after the change request, and that's why I could only sit there and cross fingers, and that happened. I mean,
it's okay. I'll go to Home Depot when I have a chance, and I'll ask them how to.
I will make sure that the next batch will certainly have that jig in, that CNC jig in. But for now, people who have the issue to make a hole, I did it also. I made a hole. I just took a glass, let's say, and draw an 80 millimeter diameter, and then took a jigsaw and cut it off.
Yeah. Okay.
It works. It's easy to do. It's not. I mean, you need a jigsaw.
Oh yeah.
You need a jigsaw. Yeah. That's the only thing. But the next version shall not have that problem.
Cool. Hey, who wants to be next? Nikolas, maybe?
Yeah, I can. So I've been researching this problem about reproducibility of ML tests and runs. And I found open source solution because I usually use weights and biases for my personal projects for learning, and this is not okay for this project. So I found open source solution that will fit that purpose. So I'm still reading on how to set up, how to run the experiments in that, but I will keep you guys notified. It's called ML Flow.
ML Flow, okay. But it does the same as weights and biases.
I guess it should be. Just you run the server locally.
Does it allow for sequences too?
Should be configurable, yes.
Cool.
Okay. Who's next? David, maybe?
Sure. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, I've been thinking about a couple of things relating to background subtraction optimization. So the first one was how we might trigger like the optimizer, and the second one was what a useful test sequence or simulation might look like that we optimize against. So I've prepared a little demo, so I'll share my screen if that's all right.
Yep.
Here we go. You guys seeing that okay?
Yep.
Yep.
Great. Yeah, so the idea is that, yeah, we haven't got one parameter set that fits all, if you like. We can have a parameter set that would work well under one condition, set of conditions, and then not so well under another set of conditions. So I prepared this little demo to illustrate that and think about how we could trigger an optimizer. This is kind of still a work in progress, so any comments are welcome. But you can see on the left-hand side, I hope you're seeing that okay, we've got kind of stable conditions. We're drawing some blanket cloud, 100% cloud cover as determined by our cloud estimator. We're drawing some randomly moving objects. In the middle frame here, we've got the output from Vibe. So you can see Vibe's doing a really good job at differentiating what's in the background and what's in the foreground. On the right-hand side, we've got a plot that's kind of giving an estimation of cloud cover, and it's doing a pretty good job. It's got 100% cloud cover, and that seems to be accurate. And the blue crosses are a snapshot of, and this happens every 15 seconds or so in this demo, but in reality, when this is run on a tracker, it could happen like every 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. We just basically take a snapshot of what the cloud cover is like. And then based upon that snapshot, we look at how much it's deviated from the previous time we've set some parameters for vibe. So if I just change the conditions here on the video, we switch and you can see there's been a big drop in cloud levels, 42% cloud cover now. And on the next snapshot, and actually if you see in the middle frame, you can see that parameter set we were previously using is no longer very good. We're getting a lot of false positives, and that of course havoc with the blob detector and all that sort of stuff. So at the next trigger point, it triggers this optimization sequence. And basically it's just trying different parameter sets and grading them. So you can see down here, bottom of the window where my mouse is, hope you can see my mouse pointer, but it's given a fitness of each parameter set, and it runs about 6 times and basically just takes the best set of parameters it finds in that time period and then applies them as a new set of parameters.
It is about 4 parameters right now.
Yeah, so it's always 4 parameters with vibe we're trying to optimize against.
But
so the best set of parameters. Sorry, Richard.
Other background subtrackers have different number of parameters and different parameters.
Yeah, so the weighted mean, median, weighted mean variance, I think the other one was. I think it's got 2 parameters.
It got only 2, okay.
I think so, yeah, 2 or 3. So it's now running with a new set of parameters. It's the second set in the search. You can see it's suppressed all of that. Those issues with false positives from light shining through the clouds. So if I switch the video again, we've got clear conditions now, or almost about 8% cloud cover. You can see that in the plot on the right. So that's enough to trigger the optimization sequence again. So it's trying to find another set of parameters that suit these conditions better. Can talk a little bit about this optimization sequence. This is really very much a work in progress, but essentially it's drawing little dots on the screen. We're changing the contrast of those dots when we're moving them around, sweeping them around, equally distributed on the frame. And the idea is that's a good test sequence, in my thinking, because we want to try and optimize for something small. I think the ISS is the benchmark, isn't it? Evenly distributed on the frame, so for any kind of background scene we're going to have different lighting and cloud conditions in different parts of the frame. So I thought if you evenly distribute these points, you could come up with some sort of average across the frame that would work. Changing the contrast as well, because obviously just optimizing against black dots on a blue background is not giving us a wide range of possibilities that we might encounter for different objects. I'll just flick through these and then finish my demo, but some different conditions that would trigger the optimizer again. Another case. One thing this demo has been quite good at actually is showing how effective the cloud estimator is. I mean, it does make a good estimation of cloud levels. Even in the night time, you can see it's about 50% cloud cover it's estimating. So it's working in day and night conditions, which is cool. But
how many parameter sets?
Sorry.
Just everyone. quick question. How many parameter sets can you choose from? Is there a limit? I know you had mentioned there's 4 parameter limit to a set, but is there any limitation in terms of the number of parameter sets that you have to choose from? I know it would be less efficient, but
Yeah, so the number of parameters it can optimize for is pretty much unlimited. I think it gets much more complex and larger search space with more parameters. But the actual parameter ranges are constrained, so we look within certain bounds for threshold. So if you see this first parameter out of the 4, that's the threshold of the vibe algorithm, whereas the second parameter is the number of frames in the background in the model. For the background subtractor, there's a couple of other ones as well. Yeah, and different background subtraction algorithms have different numbers of parameters, but we could, it's set up in such a way that you could have a larger number of parameters if needed. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess the reason I asked is whether, like, how much optimization is actually possible or available. Would it make sense at some point to factor in different, weather APIs to predict, the future change in cloud cover, so that you limit, a parameter set to select from, or something like that. But if that's only going to gain a very small amount of optimization, then it might not be as valuable.
That's a good point. Yeah. I was thinking, I developed like a solar mask and a moon mask. It tracks with the moon and the sun. It's not shown on this frame, but I mean, you could also take into account where the sun is on the frame and where the moon is on the frame, because that is usually something that causes a lot of false positives. If you've got a cloud passing in front of the sun, it tends to trigger a lot of issues. But yeah, I mean, you could feed in other weather data or other information about that as well, I suppose. Yeah.
David, may I ask you?
Yeah.
I have watched some fitnesses that you... Oh, can you share that again? Sorry, I wanted to talk about it, what you just shared. Yeah, thank you. For example, with White, there were 4 parameters, and when you changed with cloud cover, I think it was from the 50-60% down to, I think it was in the 40%, that only the last parameter of the 4 changed. So it was 25.312, and the previous one were 25.317 or something like this. 7 it was, exactly.
Yeah.
So does that mean that if you just watch the cloud cover itself, so let's say have just one discrete value, then only the 4th parameter changes? Or did you also see other situations where other parameters did change because of... what I want to say is, you can certainly not derive just from the cloud cover what parameter shall be changed, right?
Yeah, I think we could go a simple route and just have like 3 parameter sets. From what I've seen, if you've got stable conditions, you could just stick with 1 parameter set. So stable being either completely cloud-free or completely cloud-covered. And then in between that, it tends to try and find, it normally kind of lands around this area of 25.
And that I think that kind of drills to the point of what my thought was that depending on the general weather, prediction in that area, you could limit a parameter set, based on the kind of general predicted weather patterns. and probably have a narrower, more specified parameter set to choose from.
Yeah. I hadn't thought of that, actually. That's a good idea. Yeah. So what this is doing is it's taking the current set, and then it's just seeing if it can improve the current set. So it's always looking for a better fitness score. But yeah, I see what you're thinking there. You could kind of limit the.
And you could store the result. You could effectively create different parameter sets and optimize for parameter sets themselves based on those conditions too. So you could have a separate model that uses that.
So
Yeah.
I have a question.
You want
Oh, sorry, unless you're not yet done with that topic.
No,
okay,
sure.
go ahead. You said okay.
ahead.
So maybe I missed something, but you do not yet measure the speed of the clouds overall moving across the screen, across the image.
No, that's a really good question. Yeah, I thought about you could measure cloud velocity with something like optical flow or something like that. I don't know. But
I would have a suggestion.
yeah.
You know cross correlation, the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to the cross correlation over the image, the actual objects will just be essentially noise, and overall you get basically the movement direction with doing the cross correlation over all the pixels.
Oh, cool. So you just take a few frames and then you can cross correlate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
John has a very good point. There's something that I was thinking about in terms of, also identifying the type of cloud and being able to kind of gauge height, but also, using potential NERF or photogrammetry to get a sense of the topology of the clouds too, especially if you have those clouds changing over time. I think you have all of the data to be able to do that. So, that gets more complicated, but it's something, that's possibly done in the future that could give a tremendous amount of information about kind of the movement in 3D space.
David?
Yeah.
So Vibe is using 4 parameters. We do not exactly know what these 4 parameters are really doing or by what they can be influenced, do we?
Yeah, I'm still kind of trying to get my head around their impact. I mean, I wrote that report where I did like an exhaustive sweep of all parameter values and stuff, looking at the effect they have, but I'm still to kind of draw any solid conclusions on that. But I'm still learning about Vibe myself, and I know the one that I do kind of know is obviously threshold, but the other ones, their impacts. So background. Which one is it? Let's have a look. Vibe. So threshold, background samples, required background samples, and there's learning rate. I'm still trying to get my head around those, but maybe we wouldn't need to optimize all
so
of them.
These are the 4 parameters. The 8.16.1.2 are the default parameters for the parameters you change on the fly.
That's like the starting point of this demo, but these are not the default parameters. I kind of set them up just to kind of give this demo a bit more.
Yeah, of course. Okay. But what I want to ask you is, cloud coverage is, I think, one of the most important parameters, absolutely. But I think there are other parameters for the light to be, because it's a background subtracker, it's just software that calculates differences from frame to frame. So I think maybe the spread of, let's say, a histogram of, and what we can learn from the histogram of the image is, let's say, how big is where's the white point, where's the black point? Let's say, how big is the contrast? Maybe this has also an influence overall besides the cloud cover? Parameters like contrast.
Yeah, we could look at those sorts of parameters as well. I mean, I designed a fitness function that just kind of draws those objects onto the screen, changes their contrast and sweeps them round, and then looks at some basic metrics like precision and recall. And I'm weighting slightly in favor of precision, so you get less false positives. But it's definitely the things you could look at in the fitness function. Definitely the parameters, apart from cloud. But maybe this is a reasonable starting point if you're looking to optimize the parameters to changing conditions. Yeah, I mean, some of these parameters we might not need to optimize. Maybe we can just hold them constant. I just need to better understand what they're doing.
So for now, if the outcome is 25, 3, 1, and then a variation depending on the cloud cover, then it's just this is one solution. Would also mean if we want to see a change in other parameters, we had to bring in other parameters as well, like contrast. Where's the black and the white point, for example, or where's the median in the whole histogram, or how many peaks do we have in the histogram, for example, or what have you. But I think it is needed because vibe, in contrast to the mean variation, whatever it is, the other background subtractor, with only 2 parameters is simpler, I would say. If 4 parameters.
So I'll suggest to not over-engineer it right now, right? Because we don't yet have enough data, to optimize it, and we might over-optimize for something that will be an error in the future, right?
Could be.
We need to have this in place, right? It's fine that it's focused on cloud right now, and as soon as we have the alpha version running and we start recording, and see that we have errors, we can then, improve on these errors.
Absolutely.
With concrete data.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, because otherwise it will distract.
It was not
La La Land.
No, absolutely, I'm totally with you. It was not a critique or anything. It was just I just want to discuss whether it's a direction.
I like the histogram I did. Like we wanted to do it actually on the firmware, if you remember in the beginning with Christian. Yeah, but I'm hearing it now and I'm thinking like that can get very complex very fast, and we might optimize for something that will not really help once we have real data. So that's my only comment. Yeah.
I was wondering if there's a place where we can record this stuff. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of sort of, and I'm a little bit worried that we aren't actually capturing it in an issues list or some sort of trackable list that we can revisit at some point. Do we have like a central? Yeah. So it wasn't. It was more maybe to try and open the discussion as to can we set up like a central area where we can record, even if it's just an issue against some sort of GitHub repository or something. But because there's you know what I mean. I just don't want to lose, because there's a lot of good stuff that comes out of this. I just don't want to lose it.
Yes, absolutely. So you mentioned 2 things: issues and discussion. Both exist in GitHub, so we can use that, right? Unless because we're already paying for that and we already have that in place. But if you have anything else, that you want to suggest, that will be fine also.
No, that's cool. I mean, if everyone's okay with GitHub, then that's the kind of route we go, sort of thing. And I'd just like to encourage.
I'm a big fan of recording everything as issues, because then I can follow up with everything, prioritize it, schedule it, and everything, right? If we want to put more structure, right? Which and again, until alpha is out, I think we'll have less structure. But once alpha is out, and then we need to optimize and fixing stuff, I think more structure will come into place. Right?
Agreed. Yeah, no, that's for sure. I'm just trying to, I would just like to encourage you guys to just, if you have anything like that, please, please feel free to create issues. Don't feel you can't,
Yes.
just so we can record them. Yeah.
Yes, and if you guys need help, like permissions, whatever, you have like ideas for labels, we can do that also. Like I personally like a big fan of labels. So like for example, if it's an issue that requires background abstraction discussion, background discussion, if it belongs to alpha, we can have an alpha label, and so on and so forth.
Quick remark. Wouldn't that kind of thing be maybe better housed like on the Google Drive where we got the other documentation information?
So I view like Google Drive as like a one-dimensional store rather than a place that we can have discussions, but we can reference like large documents as links to the drive, if that makes from the issue, right? So for example, if we have like a research paper on different backup abstraction approaches, we can reference it in the like backup abstraction discussion, right? And you'll have a link, you can open it, right?
Yeah, I'm just not familiar with discussions under GitHub, to me it sounds like this thing's going to wind up essentially being like a list, so to speak. Yeah, it just seems to be a document, and it seemed like that would be the spot for it. Again, I'm just talking off the top of my head and my initial reaction there.
Yeah, so issues and discussion are actually quite similar. The idea is, you can write whatever, right? You can reference other developers, so they can get a notification, right? You can add link, and everything is under like a markdown, like the GitHub markdown. So you can like style it quite nice. You can put code into it. You can, you can reference the code, exactly. You can reference a test. You can reference a release. Yeah.
The differences. Yeah. So
one thing that I would mention, is that I think having something that can accept some type of log that can accept a lot of ideas that is open to the public, I think makes a lot of sense, because you probably get a lot of people that peer into this group periodically might have extremely relevant, a snippet of insight.
Yeah.
So
you want to make that as low friction as possible to catch.
Yeah. So basically we have this,
but also some way to triage and kind of and categorize and edit down to actually, figure out what's going on.
So how about Richard? We open like to create issues to the public, right? And we can choose like which repository to do it on. So we can accept like ideas and bugs and whatever.
May I differentiate between?
To tell you the truth, that was something that. Sorry to jump in, but that was some resistance that I had, where I had some ideas and thoughts, and it was kind of difficult to figure out how to do that.
I'm actually a big fan of that. That's usually how I work with other open source projects also. Like I'll usually look at their contribution MDs, see, how can I propose like a feature and whatever, and go from there, right? Richard, up to you.
May I put it here? We differentiate between two types of people. Either you're a developer or you're not a developer. So if you come in with an idea and you are a developer, like you, Dan, for example, you can place your idea within the ideas of other developers. So go on GitHub, because there are the tools for the developers. If you are not a developer, then you do not have access to GitHub. Therefore, we have on Discord the ideas channel. Everyone has access to the ideas channel, and everyone can drop an idea. This channel is also explained in the rules at the very beginning. When you log on to Discord the first time, you get these rules. I mean, if you have read it, then you know rules is ideas is for ideas, for everyone's ideas. And yes, this is unstructured. Yes, we can improve this in the future and streamline this. But I have to tell you that we're running this since almost 2 years now, there were a couple of good ideas, and these ideas always turned into that this person is then becoming a developer. So he's then automatically with us. Some ideas were just dropped, like there's a paper, you should have looked at this, and if this paper is really good, then we put it up on the on Drive on the Science channel, Science folder. There we drop the good papers that have an influence to us, that are important to us. If there are ideas that are off the table and not for us, we just leave them as they are. But we do not have that streamline that you would expect at the moment. There's no management, no person in charge for doing this. We do it kind of, if it's dropped on Discord, we all see it, and there's always a reaction to it. And if it's good ideas, then a discussion arises automatically. On GitHub, if an idea is dropped there, at the moment, there are some ideas, I think 2 or 3, it's not much. But there's no discussion coming from that. I think that is something that you as developers should engage more on GitHub for the things on the workbench of GitHub for referring code back and forth and so.
Yeah, so thinking a bit out loud, I think that will most likely change after we release alpha. And we'll start receiving feedback from the community. But
true.
Yeah.
I wanted to come back to a question before. You were mentioning 2 things. First is the data that is created with Mike. It was Mike's question. The data that's created with our station, with our small stations right now. Was that the question, Mike? Where's this data going to?
No. So my question was mainly just I don't want. So there's a lot of really good ideas and stuff that come out of these conversations. I just don't want to lose them.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That was, because there's just a lot to take in sometimes. As a developer guy, you know what I mean? You can only get to certain things over a period of time, and you forget, and I just don't want to miss any good stuff really. So it was mainly just to try and find a place where we can record those ideas.
I think GitHub is best.
I would say GitHub issues. Yeah.
So are you guys okay with that? Like Dan, Dan, John, those guys. Are you guys okay with all those? Because there's quite a few things that were thrown at David as well. During his demo, and it's all good stuff. And it's just to. Would you guys mind maybe creating an issue on GitHub somewhere, or some, with those sorts of things? Would that be okay?
Yeah, I'll take a look at it. I haven't used it extensively, but I'll definitely take a look at it and throw mine out there.
Yeah, cheers, buddy. Thanks, man.
Cool.
Yeah, we might need to have a session sometimes to kind of clean up GitHub and focus how we want to do project management on it, if that makes sense. But that's probably closer to the release of alpha version.
It makes more sense and it's easier then to manage.
It's amazing how organically the stuff are coming. I'm enjoying seeing that.
It's a wild routing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And anyone else?
Yeah.
Lionel's chatting. Yeah, can you guys hear Lionel?
You're muted, Lionel.
Yeah, I thought he's on the phone. You're muted.
Muted. You're still muted.
I can hear him.
I can hear him too.
I think you guys have.
I see the muted symbol.
Yeah.
I don't. Just check your individual screens, maybe.
Okay.
Oh my God.
You're right. Hey, Lionel.
How about now?
Lionel, may I say? Lionel, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. May I say something? Lionel, we have issues with your microphone. We love your family, and we see them. I love your kids, but they make noise, okay? And that makes sometimes discussion a little bit problematic. And that's happened that people mute you. And yeah.
I get that.
You get the point.
Okay, I understand. Sorry, I thought I joined today's meeting when I was muted. But about the ways of organizing, how about we put a backlog table with where we can all put post-it on and pick up work items? Is that a feature that exists on GitHub?
Ticketing?
Yes. We have some. I know some are creating that. But if we want to start, then yeah, definitely.
There is also Notion and other tools.
Because then we could maybe that's a good placeholder for those IDs you were speaking of. When somebody has an ID, we put it, we make it a post-it note, and then decide eventually whether we'll work on that. Trello, yeah, okay.
I mean, I did enable discussions, if I remember correctly, like a few months back, and and issues we already have. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's already a backlog board.
So I don't think it's up to date. So if you guys want to have a meeting to kind of walk through together and kind of clean that up, we can do that. I'll be happy to take and kind of drive it. That's I've been doing it so many times. So
when would you like to look at starting to do that?
The fact that we are starting to discuss it means that it's starting to get needed, right? So
exactly.
We it's probably not a good idea to do it on a call like this when we catch up status, but a separate one. So whenever you guys are comfortable and available, we can start doing that. Just need to find time. So maybe probably not today, but maybe next week. Let's say after the call, we can do that, or before the call. It's really up to you guys.
May I put in an idea? We did it in previous projects, like everyone can put in tickets. It was a ticketing system, but issues is about the same thing. So put in issues, and then we revisited all these issues and put them into high priority and down to backlog, and you can define how many you need.
Yeah,
I think that's possible with GitHub.
I want, first of all, to have a meeting so everyone is on the same page. Otherwise, it's get confusing, and we have so many repos, and we need to pick which repos is going to be for that. Or we're going to have issues on different repos. We need to discuss this kind of stuff first, and make sure that everyone understands GitHub and issues and discussion and all of that. So there will be a part of education around that, some lesson, and then we can decide what we like and how we can improve. Okay.
I think it would make sense if one of us is a dedicated, let's say, maintainer of GitHub.
I'll be that. That's easy.
Okay.
So I can take that.
Okay. It means you have at least once a week you have to check GitHub and all repos. Would that be possible?
Yeah, I started to do it when I joined. But again, I think it was too early, so I'm happy to take that on and improve.
Okay.
But before that, I want to make sure how people wants to use it, and I want to show what we can do with it.
Okay.
So we agree on the approach.
So why not
because there are different ways different teams are doing it. Okay. Like for example, now I can't remember actually when I did it a long time ago, but when you create an issue, it's either like a feature request or an issue, and we can improve that. There is actually a template that allows you to change that. Yeah. So I can work on this template and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're projects as well, aren't they? And you can kind of decide, you can create projects and assign to people, and
Exactly.
so there are lots of different options that you do have. So you don't have to do it at repository level and all these sorts of things. And it's finding out what everyone's more comfortable with. Yeah.
Yeah, like GitHub put a lot, so you can create like if you're familiar with like Monday, they have kind of the notion of you create a database, or you can create all your fields that you want. For example, where are you in the normal is like a Kanban that it's like on the to-do list, and then it's at the works, then it's done, then it's tested, then it's delivered, right, or merged, whatever you want to call it. But you can do much more, not just that. Yeah. So if you guys are okay, we can do it before next meeting or after. It's up to you. Or another time. I'm fine.
Well, we can do it after next meeting. I think it's an important task, and it's good that everyone is on it.
Yeah.
On the next meeting.
It's likely I'm going to miss that one, okay? But I'll go with whatever everyone goes with.
And then complain afterwards.
Yeah, that's my promo, whatever thing. That's the way I do things.
I know.
Hey,
We're just worried.
That's the American way.
Like I believe there is already like a milestone for the alpha version, and there's some stuff on that. But again, I did it a long time ago. I need to look it up.
I think we should do it next week. Let's start the first hour with demos or reviews, what have you, and then the next hour, the second hour, go into GitHub. What do you think?
Okay.
Sound like a plan.
We don't need this on record, so.
Yeah. Okay. So after the meeting?
A short meeting, 1 hour, and then we can go into.
Sounds good.
All right then.
Cool.
Any more topics?
Yeah. Right. So one moment, I'll share my screen. Yeah, so essentially I just wanted to give you all an overview roughly where I stand, what's my idea of the roadmap, where we are going the next month essentially, and coordinate a bit on that. So this is about a Sky 360 GUI video stream feature, on basically from my personal perspective. So in the past, I've installed and worked through the OpenMCT official tutorial, installed and worked with Node.js in the tutorials. I read into and watched videos on ROS2 and DDS, and looked into general system design of Sky 360, and looked into the Sky 360 software a bit. This week, I've installed and worked with ROS2 on my machine. I'm currently working through the ROS2 official tutorial on my desktop installation of it, and not Docker. And I've set up the VS2 Docker ROS2 development environment by Alison Haxton that Mike recommended, and that works using Docker now with ROS2 Roxy configuration, which I had to configure out. Next week, I plan on completing the ROS2 tutorial at my ROS2 desktop installation. Choose myself to work with the ROS2 Docker VS2 Docker ROS2 dev environment some more, familiarize with doing the Docker configurations of the environment a bit more, and set up ROS bridge and familiarize myself with working with it. Then, calendar week 14, the goal is to set up the existing Sky 360 environment here and prepare it for testability of the video stream plugin, using with a simple tracker repo that includes a video source ROS node and can be used as a testing source for the video stream. And I'll talk with Mike for that. And I will talk with Rebecca for the GUI side, and these discussions are also relevant for Dan, so he should be involved, of course. So it's basically just so this new feature can be tested. That's the important part. And potentially, if I have time, I'll evaluate the WebRTC library Simple Peer, which is an option for both the backend and web front-end side for WebRTC transmissions of the video stream, as a potential alternative, depending on how the DDS streaming, how well that is going to work out. And by the end of calendar week 14, I should be familiarized with the technologies of the camera feed video player plugin, and have set up the environment on my side for development testing. Calendar week 15, I'd want to do the specification of the internal architecture and the initial design, not me doing it, but participating in it with for the camera feed video player plugin with Rebecca, Mike, and Dan. I already asked Rebecca and Mike who have time, and Dan can tell us or me And then I will divide implementation work packages between the two of us insofar as that's reasonable. And then we'll also have to plan a timeline for implementation, code reviews, and testing of the initial development iteration within both parts, which we, of course, only can do once the design in that week has happened in the architecture. And then as a vague outlook after 16 and beyond, we will, of course, begin implementation in 16. And then after completing the initial development cycle, we'll obviously iteratively plan and execute our development cycles from there. So that's about that. And now questions, feedback. Do you see any roadblocks? Are the relevant people available in calendar week 14 and 15? This now Dan essentially would have to tell. And should other stakeholders be involved, for example, at the architecture or design discussion?
Yeah, I love the presentation. It shows that you're coming from automotive. So one thing, because you're gaining so much knowledge right now on setting up the development environment, and again, you're top-notch documenter, if you can create like a README so everyone else can can learn from it on how to set up the dev environment, that will be like for us, that will be amazing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's all my comments. Like, awesome. Yeah.
And I'd be happy to help out with wherever you need me. So just reach out and I'm in.
All right. Great. Yeah. So, is there any other question, feedback, comment, or whatever critique?
The usual question from Richard. Can you, in short sentences, explain the architecture design as it is planned for now?
See, the thing is that architecture design happens in calendar week 15, so in principle I cannot. But I have 3 concepts here.
There you go.
So I think it's probably smarter if we discuss it internally. I mean, we can do now. I'm okay with that. If you want, we can.
Well, we have time.
But okay. So the default approach that we would go for is essentially we have the ROS video stream aggregation node from Mike, and it goes to this web server side. There's a Node.js server on that with the OpenMCT backend and ROS bridge components of the server side. And then obviously the OpenMCT backend communicates and supplies the OpenMCT GUI through HTTPS, and then through WebSocket DDS on the one hand, a video stream topic is transmitted to here, and to clarify, the video plugin frontend aggregation is essentially an aggregated widget which you can do in OpenMCT on the GUI side. You don't even need to program. You can just combine sub widgets into a bigger widget. One of them will be a video stream viewer, where it's just a video side, and the other sub widget will be essentially a control panel, which you will use the control knobs and similar and switches that and buttons that OpenMCT offers, which will communicate through the ROS-lib.js with as essentially transmitting commands to the video stream aggregation node. This is the default idea. Then what we discussed, if that is not exactly the best solution using DDS, there's a variant where we would use WebRTC through a simple peer backend and frontend, which is a Node.js library that supplies both the frontend and backend. And we could just use a web iframe widget of MCT, which just has the simple peer front essentially, and the rest is the same. Or we go for the, let's say, performance variant, where the system where the ROS video stream aggregation node is directly supplies a WebRTC stream into the MCT web iframe, and the rest is the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's it. And yeah, this is the main variant for now.
And then we need to look at deeper into the, align ourselves with the OpenMCT architecture, because the OpenMCT architecture doesn't need iframe. Yeah. But
well, already this part will already not be iframe but direct, right? And then but the iframe is a fast way to do it first to get
I get that.
Yeah,
I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet.
All right.
Yeah. When you first display it, it took me a moment to understand. Usually, I'm familiar with like architecture when the UI is on top and then the server is.
It was just PowerPoint. It was a fast PowerPoint block diagram.
I get that. Awesome job. Yeah.
Yeah, great job.
Yeah, cool. There were 3 alternatives, and the last alternative looks like, at least to me, as the most performance one.
Yeah. That would be if the first variant, for example, it has performance issues. The last one would be something to speed up the system.
Why do you say most performance one?
Because there's no intermediate processing on the server. It goes straight from the node to the front end.
Can you show me? Sorry, I missed that.
That's just no. Okay. One moment.
Sorry, I'm missing something.
No, no problem.
Boy. I'll make a note.
Lots of things, buddy.
Oops. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So in this case, we have this processing stage here. And here, there's no. It doesn't have first to go to server. The server has its own buffers, and then it goes. There's just less buffers in the system if you don't have to. Yeah.
Okay, because you've got but how will you connect from ROS directly to WebRTC? You'll have a node.
It would not be ROS. It would be the same on the same hardware. It would have a WebRTC stream coming from there. It would not be in the sense ROS stream, but it would be that system doing it. It would just basically circumvent the whole ROS thing and give it straight, and that way you don't have any buffers in this system. So that would be some slight performance improvement, which may be important, but
where is the conversion from DDS to WebRTC happens?
Here you wouldn't do a conversion from DDS to WebRTC, but you would straight create it, and you wouldn't have an intermediary of doing DDS for the stream, but the commands would still, of course, happen through DDS.
Okay, we'll discuss it when we discuss architecture.
Yeah, but we will first try this, obviously. So it's only a conditional on us on this not working. So it's not. I don't think there's much of a point to go in depth here.
Okay.
Yeah. But you get why this has some potential of.
Not exactly, because even if you have a server like a Node.js server, the Node.js server can be a node. A ROS2 node, so there won't be much performance differences.
Yeah, but I will always be buffer. There will always be a bit of timing for that thing, and you don't know how. Yeah, I mean, it would be
technically you can put the ROS2 video stream aggregation node inside the GUI server, right?
Yeah, I mean that would also be that is also something I thought about, and yeah, I mean we could also do that. I mean, we could expand this on more options.
Yeah, okay. We'll discuss it. We'll discuss it when we discuss architecture.
If it's necessary.
Yeah. Can I just say one thing quickly? So the annotated frame creator thing is not the best because it's Python. I can't get it threaded and all that sort of stuff. So if that's the sort of route that you're thinking of doing or going down, then I think it would be worth having a chat with Fabio and asking him to see if we can get that node rewritten in C++, because it's going to be kind of key to everything. Yeah. It's going to be very key to the display. You know what I mean? So
but we could during testing we could then also look where the bottleneck is. So if it's even there.
Sure. No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
One question for this setup, I see 3 entities. The top entity is, let's say, a board where these nodes run and provide data to a GUI server, which is a platform for itself. It's another piece of hardware, right?
In principle, it could also, the GUI server, you could run it in principle on a desktop. In principle, they could be on the same system or they could be on the same system.
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to have those two on the same, the top and the bottom one on the same system.
Yeah.
But yeah. So where the GUI server is, that would be more or less, let's say, a higher level architecture decision.
Yeah.
That we don't have to think about now.
Right now. Yeah.
The only concern we had is security, where we want to separate the GUI server from the rest.
Mm-hmm.
That was an issue we discussed. And the lower the green part is, I can imagine just the desktop running a browser and opening the link, right?
Yeah, this could just be your browser. And then also this could be anywhere on Earth in theory. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Awesome.
So from your time schedule, you said that 4 weeks?
Now it's 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah. So in after 3 weeks, so the 4th week would, the 16th we would already work on the implementation.
Okay. Wow. Cool.
Yeah. So Mike, you can learn how to distress from John.
Yeah, I was thinking about taking the summer off, but I suppose that's not going to happen now, really.
Yeah, bear in mind, like he used to get tasks, that are imaginable and whatever, and then he had to put it into embedded. so you have to go through that, otherwise it's almost impossible.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have John in the team. I think his technical prowess far outweighs mine, so I'll just do as I'm told, really.
Awesome.
No, you're our ROS architect, right? Very important. So, yeah.
Yeah, probably not, mate. You don't want me to. Yeah,
here we go again.
Engineer something.
Why do you do that to yourself? Why?
Yeah, because I don't. I'm very new to ROS, mate. So I'm definitely not.
But everyone else is new to ROS. Right,
yeah,
right?
I know, but I don't. I
mean, you did great in the last 11 months.
Definitely.
And since we started to move into ROS, 11 months since I joined, at least, right?
Yeah, but it's low hanging fruit stuff, though, right?
Don't minimize it. No reason to minimize it.
Yeah.
I won't let you. No, you're doing wonderful, and you're a ROS architect from my perspective, and
yes,
obviously from John's as well.
That's
right.
Yeah. Okay. That's.
I mean, you know, on ROS at this point,
it's not going to end well.
you know
flashes.
you know ROS 2 more than me at this point. Okay. I know the concept, so I can speak about the concept like in details, but the technical aspects and the the implementation, far better than anyone else here at this point. So well done. That's what I'm trying to say. Well done.
If you say so, mate. Yeah.
But I have to say to every developer who contributed here, from everyone, you all did a great job. There was none who made rubbish. We had to bin, or where we said, oh no, we do not want to work with. Every one of you developers deserve a picture in the Hall of Fame. And we certainly will do this once, at least on the website, so that everyone can see. But
yeah.
Thanks for having all of you.
You makes me cry.
Especially you, Bojan.
Oh yeah.
Hey guys, this brings me to a question. Okay, just to give. Lionel, you want to say something? No. Okay. So Dan, John, that you know. I'm acting here as, let's say, the voice of the community, okay? Or the voice of Sky 360 asking the developers this and that, okay? So just to give it an update. Because there are people out there who cannot ask you direct questions, so it's my role to do. And my role here is now to ask for the alpha version, because everyone is waiting for it. and we postponed it 2 times. And yes, we have to postpone it another one because we announced it for Q1 23, which ends in a couple of days. And but what you just said, John, that let's say a first test on the GUI can be achievable within 4 weeks, makes me kind of confident that, let's say, at least in Q2, or let's say before the half year ends, we can see an alpha version. And I'm not asking you to do so. Sorry, I'm not asking you to do so, okay? And it is not an imperative that you have to do now, because that's not the way it works here. But we need this idea, because there are a lot of people watching us, and everyone wants to know what's going on.
I wanted to clarify that he said that the implementation begins in calendar week 16. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's completed in calendar week 16. Could be 17, could be 18. I can't answer.
Yeah,
because the design isn't there yet.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, so it's very important, John, that to iterate that you know, we don't want to have timelines on the project, right? And we decided that to remove all the stress from everyone, we don't speak about timelines.
Yeah.
But this is about giving some ideas, and you know, I can acknowledge how bad we are with this, right? With how we deliver it to the community, right? But I think, you know, we got the camera working right now. We have Sentinel working right now, so we are very close to kind of have a stable version. You know, again, for the alpha version, right?
Yeah.
Right? There, we're kickstarting the work on the UI, and you know, even on the hardware level, right? We are finalizing stuff. I mean, the fact that I'm holding this is huge for me. I don't know if you know that or not. Like, huge. So yes, Richard, I will say, like, most likely, I think alpha will be ready around Q3. Okay, sometimes in Q3. I think that will make far more sense. Okay.
We defined the alpha as the minimum viable product once.
Yeah, but I think realistically, you know, because we are starting to do more project management starting next week, we'll discuss it, right, and sort all the issues.
Yeah.
That will materialize, and we'll have better understanding of the timeline, so all the community can actually
absolutely
see that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we might not have proper timeline, but it will at least see dependencies of everything, and when you know, I'll show it next week how it can look.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make these words clear because Dan and John didn't hear that yet. The alpha version is our big goal, that we can have at least a working product. It is not meant as, because first of all, this is all open source. What we all do here is we contribute our free time, okay? Nobody is paid here, okay? So this is very important for everyone who sees this video now, this recording knows about it. That's why we can also only contribute what is left over from the day job, from family, what have you. And this, of course, and changes in technology, postpone things over time. We also knew that it doesn't make sense to iterate and iterate and iterate and have new ideas and make a new, but never publish. Okay, that's why we think the alpha version is a crucial one, because it is not the best product. It is certainly not something we will be very proud upon, but it will be the first version that at least works in a way, in a bit. And that's what we want to see, because then we can multiply, we can roll out, because there are people out there who also buy cameras and pies and want to test. And that's important, that we have several hardware, maybe even different hardware, different cameras, so that we get an overview of what it is. It doesn't make sense if we keep our own little basket and work within this. I think it's very important that we have these beta testers out there, and yeah, they're in the 30, 40 people now numbers. So I think it's important to have that base and also to feed that base so that we learn from that base and which in return gives us knowledge about the system, how it behaves. And
alpha version is very important. We can update every week. I mean, all major companies, Apple, Windows, or whatever, updating every day, you know. So very important for us to have alpha version, you know, up and running, no matter how, you know, no matter what, just running, and we can update weekly, monthly, whatever.
Exactly.
But what I'm trying to point is we look more professional than any other like a community, whatever. I love that. I'm so happy about it. No, I'm dead serious. No, I'm dead serious. And I'm dead serious. And you know, this is how actually community works. If normal people is, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone does its best. So
this is all I had to say.
Thanks, Bojan. So if there's any other topic, Ido, any more topic?
No, not for me.
Okay, then I would say we close the recording for today.